This is the next step for refining a diaphragm pump for a misting solution. In this step we've added a second solenoid here, which is the dump valve, the dump solenoid. And this is a normally open 120 volt coil solenoid. So what we have is a normally closed for the input water over here, and a normally open here, 120 volts each one, and then we have a 120 volt pump. So they work, we'll say, in unison. You plug the pump in, turn the pump on, this input solenoid opens, supplying water to the pump. This dump valve closes, so nothing comes out of the dump valve, but the high pressure water does come out of this port right here at around 150 psi. So when the pump is shut off, you pull the plug, or it satisfies or times out. When it does shut off, the action reverses. The pump shuts off, this input solenoid closes, this dump valve opens, and what that does is relieve the high pressure, that the 150 psi you've got coming through this line and to your nozzles. It relieves it and dumps it to drain. And what that does is it's a snap acting. It causes the nozzles with the springs in them, the spring check valves, to snap shut so you don't get any dripping. So that's the whole purpose behind adding the second solenoid, is to dump the water on the off cycle and to prevent dripping on the nozzles. If you recall the first movie that I made, we didn't have this solenoid. We just had the input solenoid, and it had the ability to run. But when it shut off, the water slowly bled out the nozzles, and the nozzles started to drip. And what we're going to do next is to add this control box on top. Looks like this. And it'll set up here, and it'll have some relays and controls in it. Specifically, it'll have some time delay relays, time delay on the on cycle and off cycle, to automatically cycle the pump for some applications, whether it's a misting, humidification, or hydronics or hydroponics application. We'll put this on top and put a couple time delay relays in it, and it'll cycle on and off by itself. One of the important time delay relays we're going to add, which kind of almost puts a finishing touch on the pump, is a time delay on the dump valve. So when the pump does satisfy, or it cycles, the dump valve opens, but it only opens for a couple of seconds, maybe 2 seconds, and then shuts back off again. What that helps do is helps the lines, the misting lines, from bleeding out, from, maybe you could call it siphoning out, and to keep the lines full all the time. So when the pump does start back up, you get pure mist right away, or you don't have any bubbles or spitting. You get solid mist. That should do it for now. We'll move on to the next movie once I get the control box on. One quick note at the end here is I noticed I didn't have the bypass line on for the pressure regulator, and that is this line right here that goes from the output around back into the input. So I was just thought you might want to see that, because these two ports here were open with nothing on them. You might question what they're for. So that's the bypass line. That should do it.